Hello, soldiers. I'm Commander Cyrious. Welcome back. Long-run games have a problem. There's no good jumping in point for new potential players. But the release of Osher and Planetside creates a rare opportunity for players to come check out the game on a more equal footing. Let's go Planetside. I'm reminded of this very hilarious post that came up a few years back. A casual player, not a complete newbie, probably someone just returning to the game, half jokingly, half being honest, requested that all the veteran Planetside 2 players just go on vacation for like a month, so that anyone that wasn't ready to play at super sweaty tryhard level could actually have fun. Now this post is more about the skills of the player base, but there's a few roadblocks to new players wanting to come to a game or return to a game that's 9 years old. And this goes for any game, not just Planetside 2. I used to be a big fan of World of Warcraft, but having been out of touch for a long time, every time I go and check it out for a little bit, I feel so hopelessly far behind and so out of tune with the game. I only stick with it for an hour or two before I'm like, it's not worth it to try to really dig back into wherever the game is at now. And Planetside certainly suffers from this effect. New players that are coming in start getting a feel for just how many things you need to cert. They start getting killed with all these different weapons, thinking they need to unlock all those. And it starts becoming overwhelming very fast. Even if the base concept of the game is exciting, it will just plain old feel inaccessible. Now, Daybreak Games has certainly done some things to mitigate this effect. Reworked the new player tutorial and updated the mission system to A, give simple manageable objectives, and B, dump certs on people so they can progress a lot faster. But none of that really helps when you've got some sweat constantly turning corners and quad headshotting you. What really makes the difference is having enough population out there that those high skill players are mixed into a greater density of skill levels, so newer players, returning players have a chance to have good fights that are at the skill level range they are at. So the release of Osher is creating an amazing opportunity for this. Osher differs from the other continents because it is not dominated by redeploy side. On the main continents, Amrish, Indar, Hoss, and Esamir, fast-moving, high-skilled players are rapidly redeploying across the map, just looking for action. The effect this has, though, is it feels like there's always amazing players on the other team. You kind of slowly roll up to a new fight in a Sunderer, you start fighting, and bam, all of a sudden they crawl out of the woodwork. Players that you have no chance against. So, okay, you bail out of that one, maybe you redeploy to the Warp Gate, you get in some gals, you roll out with a new platoon, all exciting. By the time you get to the next fight, those players have redeployed out of the first one, gone and cleared out 2 other fights, and now can easily be back for redeploy side, even though you've traveled halfway across the map. The fights on Osher have the advantage of being larger, which makes individual skill less important, and they make it a little harder to redeploy into them. So while you're going to bump into pockets of high-skilled players, you're also going to have lots of opportunity at players that are more on your level. Now, this is a rare opportunity that won't last forever, so I do encourage you, if you've been like, oh man, should I do it? When should I check it out? Is it worth it? Now is definitely the time. Now, the new hotness, the new exciting continent is not open all the time. They have put it into the rotation, although on the primetime weekends, they are planning on keeping it open more. I will say the rest of the continents is basically business as usual. If you've played previously and you show up here and play on an off-peak time when Osher's not open, your experience is going to be exactly as it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever you last checked it out. So it may not give you that wow moment that Planetside gives some players. But if you can make it on for a prime time on a weekend and Osher is open, for the 1 to 2 months after it has released, the swell of population is going to create an opportunity where players just getting into the game can go out there and actually feel like they're sort of on the same playing field as other players out there. Now, if you come back and you right away go try to be hero one-on-one, no, you're doing it wrong. That's probably not going to work for you. But if you come back, you look in the platoon finder, you find a good platoon you're having fun with, fall in with them, that is where you're going to have an opportunity to get into fights where you have support from some friendlies and are going up against a decent opposing size force that should have a good mix of skill levels that's fun to fight against. Now, Osher is super fun and exciting, but is releasing with not as much fanfare as something like the Escalation patch. So the devs have to walk a very tight line here. They don't want to burn everyone out on Osher right away. They need to keep it exciting. But if you log in wanting to play the new continent, and it's never open, for example, I've logged into Connery the last 3 nights, and I haven't had the opportunity to play Osher, it's going to be disappointing, and they're going to miss people that come back, and it just ends up feeling like the same old grind, rather than something new and exciting. So, viewers, fellow Araxians, soldiers, past Araxians, this is your chance, and they are fleeting. It's not all going to be sunshine and roses. You are going to run into the disappointing fights where it's kind of just people staring at a spawn room. But if you can take a minute to fall back and set up some defenses, if you can look around the map a little bit more, you are going to start finding these really interesting battles that are kind of the quintessential Planetside experience, that are what made players that do stick around. And for veteran players that are already here, I encourage you to suffer through some of the speed bumps, road bumps that happen inevitably with a new patch. As patches go, Osher was actually surprisingly clean right off the bat. There were certainly a few glaring bugs, like some spawn rooms that had pain fields in them for the friendlies, some spawn rooms that didn't have shields, but those were all patched out of the game within like 4 to 5 days of the actual launch. And we are playing a very stable Osher now, which I expect is going to get a few more patches, upgrades over the next few weeks as they kind of round it out. And an already good continent is just going to get better. Now, you are going to see a lot of mixed reviews from veteran players, and those are all really good to take in and absorb. What I would encourage you to do, though, is go figure out what is fun for you. There's a lot of people that love the redeploy side meta that is Planetside 2. It gives you kind of the effects of arena shooter with little to no downtime. You don't have to wait between rounds. You don't have to sit there in a battle royale waiting for a queue. The uptime of action on Planetside 2 is unmatched in the FPS gaming sphere. And something like Osher kind of grates against that a little bit. It slows things down. It brings some non-traditional FPS elements to the forefront of it. Things like construction and going underwater. So people that like that well-trod path, that core fast-paced action, will be a little bit disappointed. But people that are interested in a more cinematic experience, a more immersive experience, something that really feels like a massively multiplayer online game, and beyond that, a massively multiplayer first-person shooter, which is something very rare to find, this continent is going to give you the feel of that. Maybe not since, early in the launch days when there was just a ton of population. It's also giving some feelings of kind of the old Planetside 1 days. So in that sense, I really encourage you to form your own opinion, good or bad. But there it is, soldiers. I've been having a heck of a lot of fun with it when it's open. Every time I log in, it's not open. I gotta say, I'm disappointed. I miss it. I realize it is the new hotness. Maybe that effect will wear off. But I don't think it will. I think what will wear away is eventually the pop will kind of sink again, and then the content won't be as vibrant. It won't flow like it does right now. It'll sort of settle back into redeploy side tactics like the other continents have right now. But that is what is so special about this launch moment, is that you really get it working the way at least I, and I know many others, want the flow of battle in Planetside 2 to happen. So dive in, take advantage of it while it's here, and, if people stick with it, we'll just keep that rising trend going as long as we possibly can. Let's stay on that hype hill path, and that'll lead to better things in the future for Planetside. Soldiers, that's it for me. I am working on some more tutorial stuff for all the new players that are checking in to Planetside, so stay tuned for that. That said, there's already a lot of advanced training guides and surviving your first few hours on Planetside that are dated but still relevant. So lean on those for now if you need some help. I'll get some links going at the end of this video. That's all for now, soldiers. I'm Commander Cyrious, and until next time, I will see you Planetside.